Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. It's Friday, March the 16th, the year 2018. Let's talk trading. Time for the weekly wrap up. Okay, I know I didn't post a video yesterday. Sometimes you wake up and you get a phone call or an email and just changes your whole day. So I didn't get a chance to drain the banks yesterday. Anyway, so let's just look at the week and see what's going on here. But first, remember money and risk management. I hope you used that well this week. I really do. And as we can see, the dollar Canadian is broken out of the previous week's high here at the 130 level. It's almost at the 131. In fact, it missed it by what? 2 pips? And as we can see here, we did have one no fill. No fill on the weekly. You can see there's been some nice movement off the weekly open, and I mean the pound pairs, a couple of them have really moved. Canadian pairs, some nice movement, especially the dollar Canadian. Nice move. Looking at the daily, once again, just a breakout of yesterday's high. Simple stuff, as always. Whoops. And we got the buy zone here. As you can see, that was probably a loss or a scratch. Right here, you made a little gain. That would be another scratch. Possible scratch, possible win. If you dipped back in, took the chance. Nice move to the upside. There's a little action here on the rat zone, but you can see the range is still only 52 pips. Really not much of a range. See right there, range 52. And we did not hit the pivot at all. I mean, that pivot fade just didn't happen. So might look for that area to be revisited sometime next week. Price action at the line with the turn trades. There's really not much to expand on this. The 5 lines, once again, you can see here at the line, which would have been the previous day's high, lots of action. And looking at the wick zone here, we look at it next, but you can see here, there's a lot of movement outside the wick zone, which just, once again, price doesn't like being in the wick zone. And here we can see it here clearly. And we can look at the holo setup. Right there, get the whole view. You see it dipped in, you had a chance here, and a second chance, taking the holo. Came out here, came back in and out again, touched it. Once again, price doesn't like to stay in that holo zone. It's just something that happens, every day. It's not difficult. In fact, I was listening to a podcast. I forget I forget her last name, Annie something, but she was a World Series of Poker champion. Her brother was a champion too, and now she's on the lecture tour. And she's basically talking about risk. And I was, listening to her podcast, and something hit me. that as traders, a lot of people are trying to get a guarantee. In trading, we talk about having an edge, something that we can exploit. So we know if we do this, we have a positive expectancy. But there's just so many traders who are looking for something that's really a guarantee, not just an edge, but they want a guarantee. They want to know when they click that mouse, it's gonna work. That trade's gonna be profitable, and that just doesn't happen. And you can see that by the number of times traders, change systems, how many tweaks they put on the systems, that they just keep going for perfection. But I mean, really, the buy zone, I created that system like in the early 2000s when I was trading stocks. There's no tweak to this system. I mean, I laugh because, if I were to do a seminar, I can do this on one page, and I could stand up in front of the room. You may have heard me tell this before. And if I charge somebody $500 or $5,000, they'd all demand their money back. But if I put something up here with a bunch of squiggly lines and gave them a 3-inch binder and used all these esoteric formulas, and everybody walked out of the room scratching their head and they were totally confused, nobody would ask for their money back. Where this is something that it works every day. Every day. It's been working that way, like I said, for almost 2 decades. Um, but they want to argue about it and refute it. But I mean, right here, yeah, one, two. You probably had two losses, and maybe here, depending on where you put your stop, you might have had 3 losses. But you also had some nice size winners here that would more than make up for the loss. And depending on where and when you trade, because once again, this is dollar Canadian. You probably want to trade dollar Canadian during the US session, maybe the London session. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, you wouldn't be trading until somewhere around here, the London session. Just so these, you're not even looking at these trades. They don't even appear on the screen. So it's just that simple. Um, the rat zone, there's been no tweaks to that. I mean, none, zero. Um, fading the pivot. There's nothing to tweak on fading the pivot. Nothing at all. Um, price action screen. Well, that's kind of up to the trader how exactly you want to trade the price action. The 5 lines, I mean, you just trade at the line. There's nothing here to tweak at all. People are going to try and filter out these trades one way or the other. And really the simple filter is, what pairs are you trading? During what session are they most likely to move? If you're trading the Asian session, then trade the Japan, trade the, New Zealand pairs and the Australian pairs. That's what's going to move during those sessions. Unless there's some other news break. But I mean, and the wick zone, the same thing. This system, there's really no tweak to it. I mean, yes, I've updated some indicators. I made the wick zones indicator where you can have not only just the previous day, but the week and the monthly wick zones. And you can even drop down to H4, H1 if you want to. Because here on H1, you can see right here, price didn't want to stay in that wick zone. It exited, came back in, and came out the other end. And it didn't stay in this wick zone either. So there's money to be made doing these, but these systems don't need tweaking, but they're not guarantees. You see, these are not guarantees. Not at all. And then I was working with the trader who was really trying to find an edge here using the tick chart. And I told him basically, the whole thing about the tick chart is timing your entry. So if you see that you're in one of those zones and you realize that, usually when you click the mouse, it goes against you. Well, there's a reason for that. If you're clicking buy all this time, anytime here, yeah, you can see it's going down, but there's a reason it's going down. It's because the bid has not gotten above the lowest ask at the time. And you see finally right here, the bid got above the lowest ask. And then it came back in here and it came back down. Then things reset themselves. So you see right here, price was going down. And as soon as it got above the lowest ask at the time, it started going back up. I mean, it's basically that simple. And, but is it perfect? Is it going to work every time? No. So basically, well, how do you do it? It's like, well, if it's an up day, you buy. If it's a down day, then you short. If the H1 candle's green, then you buy. If it's red, then you short. And you just wait for this little signal here. And sometimes you'll see you might only be able to pick up a couple of pips if you're prone to exit, but you can use that in conjunction with other things. Like you might look at a 5-minute chart or 10-minute chart and say, well, that candle's still green, it hasn't hit its range, so I'll stay in there. Or on the other hand, you can say, you know what, the candles hit and exceeded the range. Now all of a sudden, I've been long. Now all of a sudden, when you see the ask price drop below the bid, oh, I'll just take my money off the table. Because what did you give back? When ask price crosses below the bid, all you gave back was a spread. That's all you gave back. So that's just something to be aware of. But most people don't see those distinctions. So hopefully that explains a little bit more about the tick chart there. And this is just, I don't even know if I need this screen anymore. It's just something simple here. In fact, I think I'll just take it off like that. So, fellow traders, I hope you had a good week. Once again, thanks for asking the questions. Hopefully I answered them. If not, feel free to keep asking and I'll keep trying my best to answer. So, just remember in the coming week, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. TheRumpledOne signing off, and I'm going to enjoy the weekend. Even though it is raining outside, I'll find something to do. So, we'll see you guys next week.